All right, and we're back. So, I just made a video updating you on the farm and certain aspects of sustainability. And now I want to go over my design plan for the farm. So, with taking in all this new information, I'm able to more clearly see the layout of the land and kind of what needs to be where. And permaculture, one of the biggest aspects of it is creating an overall design. So that's really where your act as a creator comes through. So I have my design plan here. Okay, so this is the property of Puri. And there's a lot on here. So let's go over it. So the idea of understanding where the energy is coming and flowing in through your land is a big basic concept, because we want to be the storers of energy, because there's energy passing through. We want to be able to take that energy and transform it into what we want to transform it into. So for me, that looks like growing food and growing spiritual centers. So the biggest, most obvious interesting piece of my property that I noticed when I'm just standing out there is the cars. So we're off of a really busy street here, 380 University here in Denton. It gets, I don't know how much traffic, but it's a very, very busy street, I would say. And so we want to capture that energy. And the way that we've been doing that is we opened up a fruit stand right here. So we have a fruit stand right off the side of the road, and it's a very beautiful fruit stand that I built. It's made out of cedar and stained wood and whatnot, so it's a very attractive fruit stand. And we have some very nice signs that were painted by people here in the ashram, actually, the center where I live. And they're very beautiful signs. They're 4 foot by 4 foot, so those capture people's attention. And then we also have 2 4x8 signs that are out by the side of the road that are capturing people's attention, again designed by people here at the ashram for no monetary exchange. They're just juiced up to help. They have certain skill sets, and they really believe in what we're doing. So finding your tribe, your team that is willing to help you and really believes in the vision that you have is a very, very valuable asset. Maybe one of the most valuable assets for sure. Because that's going to come with support. Their strengths might be your weaknesses, so you're able to build yourself that way. And then it's our responsibility as leaders of the ones with the vision to care for them and to nurture them along the way. All right, so we have the cars here, and we're capturing that energy with the fruit stand. So the fruit stand has many different benefits. One is capturing the energy of the money, basically money and attention from the side of the road. It's a storehouse for things during the off season. It's only open 6 months out of the year, so we can store stuff in there for the other 6 months out of the year during the colder winter months. It serves as a beauty piece. And then the same thing with these raised beds here. So we're going to have raised beds all around the fruit stand on the side of the road. And those will probably have caterpillar tunnels on them, or low tunnels or whatever, to keep things really extended in the growing season and make the most use out of them. And the function of those is not only to grow great food, it's to feed or to capture the attention of the drivers by. So people can see also where their food comes from when they're at the fruit stand. They can see they're going to be right next to each other. So it'll be a whole nother selling piece as well for people who are already at the fruit stand. One of the important aspects of the permaculture is that everything has more than one design or function to it. So nothing is just a solo, mono, in its own bubble kind of idea. Everything is interwebbed, interdependent. And so we're really looking at those connections, those relationships, so that they can have multiple relationships and they can really be a strong, robust, integrated component, no matter what it is. So everything's going to have multiple functions here. All right, so And then along the side of the road, right now it's completely bare. So you can see the road, you can see the tires of the cars, and that creates a lot of noise. And I'm not a big fan of the noise, so we're gonna be growing different things right along the road's edge just to create a barrier, fast growing things. So almond verbena is gonna be one thing that we'll be growing there. That's also gonna be good for the pollinators. Bees love it, and it smells really good. So that'll be another addition of beauty to people who are out on the farm touring the garden, and for the workers. And then we have figs over on this side because I love figs. We're gonna grow figs. And they're gonna create a barrier as well as give us fruit, obviously. And so going around, we got our electricity comes in right here, and that may move somewhere, but right now it's right there. And so over here is a mandala farm. I saw this concept on Purple Pear Permaculture, and it looks so awesome to me. So it's gonna be 8 circles in a circle, like a mandala, and in the center is going to be an area permanently planted for beneficials. So it's going to be we'll have a little pond in there as well as some really big growth. So we might do more almond verbenias in there. We might do the feathergrass, provide habitat for things like lizards and different animals that want cover. So that'll attract them there. And the cool thing is a rotating chicken coop. So these are all circles. These are all individual gardens, probably with about a 20-foot diameter to them. And they are going to be rotated. So there's a chicken coop here that I've drawn, and it's movable. It's like a chicken tractor. So the chickens stay there, and then we move the chicken coop after a week. They've foraged that whole area. They've cleaned the bugs, any insects, eggs that are in the soil. They've tilled the soil with their scratching. They've fertilized it with their manure, and they've also eaten any weed seeds or any weeds that are in there too. So it's highly, highly beneficial to have the chickens there. And we'll be doing that for about a week, and then they'll move, and then we'll probably spread biochar there, some compost, and then some mulch as we plant transplants there. And we'll just come behind, we move them every week, and then the next week we plant there. So we'll have a continual harvest and continual renewal, regeneration process going in this. And it's in the shape of a mandala, so we're getting spiritual. We have a shed over here that's just storing stuff. It was on the property when I got it, so we're keeping that. And it stores water storage tanks right now. We probably have, I think 4, maybe 200-gallon storage tanks. We might use those for IMO later on the road. I don't know what we'll use them for, but those are a great resource. And we have wood stored in there too. We have a bunch of lumber that we get for free from a fence company down the road. Back here are the bees. This area I noticed floods a lot. So I was thinking it would be a perfect place, since it wants to flood anyways, to go ahead and make a shallow pond, because I want to have ducks. They're so cute, which gives me, that's another output. So even though it's not a physical output, ducks of course have, their benefits are mondo. They're going to be like chickens in that they work the soil, they eat pests, and they add their manure, so they're fertilizing. And another thing that they do for me is, I think ducks are so cute. They're so cute. And so that's actually an output for me. That's one of the benefits, is that they're so cute and they fill me with cuteness. So it's a totally viable output to have non-tangible things. In fact, those are very, very important to consider, the non-tangible outputs. So ducks probably have a duck enclosure here. The bees are here. Those may need to get moved because it floods there. Maybe have a duck island. I'll probably have to build a coop for them. And we could have a good-sized flock to do ducks. I don't know how many we'll have, but we could have 100 ducks out there easy. And then, in addition to the chickens, so we could have tons of eggs. I wasn't even considering selling eggs, but we might get into that. I'm just open to the possibilities here. So this is what I call the back side of the property. And back here, I have it labeled Zone 5 in the permaculture zones. There's a lot to go over, isn't there? In the permaculture zones, we have zones zone 0 through 5. Zone 0 is your ground base where you're going to be doing your cooking, you're there all the time, your kitchen. Here we don't have a residence, so there's no real zone 0, but if there was going to be a zone 0, it would probably be right around here, because this is the parking lot we'll be every day. And then there's zone 1, which is going to be things that require your daily attention. So herbs, and if you have a really persnickety vegetable, any animals that need daily care. And then it just goes out from there based on how much you're going to be needing to go to it to harvest stuff or to care for it, and how much it needs you to come to it via caring for it. So basically how many times you're going to be out there a week. And it works out from there. So zone 0, you're there every day, and then zone 5, you leave completely untouched. It's pristine, it's nature, that gets to do its thing 100%. So we actually back up to what I believe is the Corps of Engineering land, so it's completely untouched wildlife back there. So we always have an example of nature. And so we have a fence line back here, and it's also a tree line, which is pretty cool. There's maybe 10 feet of drip line from the trees that are here that come onto our property. So that provides a lot of different shade for potential animals. If we want to have goats or donkeys, or if we do the chicken run down here, we really have a lot of options along this line and this line for providing shade and shelter for our poultry or whatever animals we get. And that's not only good during the hot Texas summer, it's going to be really good for predator birds, so the owls and the hawks. We definitely have a lot of hawks around here. So providing that cover is going to be really good for predator prevention as well. Let's see here. This is a grove of trees. I love this grove of trees. It's so beautiful. There's hackberries and elms, and I think there's some oak in there as well. It's just a big conglomeration of trees. And originally that's where I was going to build like our tool shed and things like that, and our cooler, because we'll need a cooler for all the produce. And I still might. And also it's just such a pristine area for if we want to do wildlife, to keep it in there, or livestock, we could keep it in there. So I still haven't decided on that. I'm still in the planning stages, but this is a really good rough draft to help us keep as like a foundation for where we're going to go. Let's see, this is the well. The words are backwards for you, huh? So this is our well. This is where our water source is going to be coming from, which is really perfect. It's right in the middle of the property, and this is on a slope. So you can see these big lines that go all the way across the property. Those are swales, and those are going to hold water and then slowly release it downhill as time goes on. And like I said, this is a very small curve. It's maybe a 5 to 10 foot elevation drop from the center of the property to this side, but still that's going to allow the moisture to slowly go downhill after it rains and whatnot. So these swales are actually, they help to catch water. They're basically mini trenches that run along the contour lines, right? If the slope is this way, then our contour lines are perpendicular to the slope, and the water is going to fill these swales and then slowly be released over the week or two. However, I've never done it before, so I don't know how long. And these will be our row crops. So we'll have our row crops being watered by our swales to help cut down on the actual irrigation that we have to do and conserve water to the best of our ability. Even though we're coming from a well, it's still taking resources away from the earth, and it's taking resources in the form of electricity to pump that water up. So the more sustainable it can be, that's what we're going for. And we'll have easy to grow things here, especially for this first year. Things like okra and watermelons, tomatoes, squash, eggplant, peppers, things that I've grown before that I know grow well, that are hard to mess up, right? So tomatoes, like large heirloom tomatoes, are beautiful and wonderful, and they're a little bit harder to grow than your cherry tomato varieties. So We're going to keep it classic, at least for this first year, in terms of what I know I can grow well, so that we're being sustainable financially, because we got to sell this stuff and make the moolah. And then we have these cute little bridges that go over the swales, which I think are going to be awesome. Those are going to provide transportation across the swales, obviously, as well as the aesthetic look of having a cute bridge in the middle of our farm. Herbs and whatnot need to be planted around zone 1 here. So we might have herbs like along this pathway here. We'll probably have herbs planted throughout this whole area here. We can move the chickens, so there's kind of, the way I've drawn it, there are 4 different zones of crop rows, and we could do some sort of crop rotation here too, with letting the chickens forage. So we let the chickens out, put the electrical fence around here, let them do their thing for a week or whatnot, and then they eat all the weeds and the process that we talked about over here at the mandala farm. And the pond. So we'll probably do a pond over here. We'll probably do a pond over here, just to have water available. We might do some kind of trenching down into the swale. I don't know yet, but it'd be nice to have a pond over here too. Woo! So that is, I mean, this is really only even a glimpse of what we can be doing, what we will be doing. This is the basic foundation for what we're going off of. This is a general idea based on all the information that I've gotten. Woo! Oh, and here's the compost area too. So the compost area will have to turn regularly, so that's going to be zone 1. I'm also excited because we're turning this property into something of a permaculture biodynamic touring farm. So we're not just going to be growing food. One of the principles that we're doing is being an inspiration for the world, being an example. So that's why it's so important that I document all of this stuff. And it's also important to put it out and to make it accessible to people. So whether it's online like this, or they want to come and tour the farm, that we're making it something that they want to come tour. So we're going to be showing all of our systems, how all of our systems work, and be educated on all of the principles that we're applying in our systems. So not everyone's systems is going to look like ours, because they'll have different land and different resources available to them. And if we teach the principles that we're operating off of, then they can apply those to themselves and make them work for themselves. Because the permaculture is such a big umbrella, overarching idea that applies to spirituality, that applies to business, that applies to relationships. It goes so far beyond just farming. We want to be teaching and transmuting all of that stuff, not just farming techniques. So, woo, I feel so jazzed up right now. It feels great. I'm going to be continuing to read today, learning more, and taking care of what I need to take care of. So that is the idea, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and gained some knowledge, and we'll continue to see how it plays out over the next few years.